do all those things you're asking for.
doesn't need you to point that out. Like they are very
you have to do all those
someone
things
who's
you're
but someone who's large doesn't
you
need you to
have
point
to
that
do
out.
your
Like
homework.
they are very
to the rivers wide, tune in, it's time to take
You're the health secretary. Why don't you talk about that? Why don't you address those kinds of issues? Why are you talking about the governor's rate? Because, in order to do all those things you're asking for, you'd actually have to do your homework. Yes, you have to do your job. You'd have to do your job. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's probably easier to focus on the governor than it is the rise in measles, whooping cough, tuberculosis, which are all these things that are happening simultaneously.
They don't know what they're doing, and they're being very careless. And also this idea, that he wants to run a third term.
But it's also, there's just a human reaction, a visceral reaction to like a bully, even though he wasn't like mad. Someone who's large, someone who's large doesn't need you to point that out. Like they are very aware and they feel that all the time. So to say that when he's on a stage, that is what nightmares are made of. Yeah. And then following it up with the cute little button, let's weigh him in. I would have died. Like it is really just awful behavior.
If I could mention one more thing too, I spent a lot of time in West Virginia, one of those beautiful states, but it has.
Hey everybody, welcome to West Virginia Wire. My name is Regina Connell. You guys, welcome to House Connell. Today we are going to be breaking down some statements from The View. I'm actually going to be watching the whole entire episode for you guys. I'm not going to cheat. I'm not going to go pull from somebody else's content. A lot of the times it's hard to watch it by myself, so I do like to do it in a group setting. I enjoy watching other content creators and getting their takes on things. So you guys, there's a lot to get into. And today, this episode is personal for me. We live in the hollers of Boone County, West Virginia. And I guess the hosts of The View feel like RFK Jr. was beating up on our governor. I don't understand. I'm not sure that I'll ever understand why folk feel the need to jump in and be offended for someone, right? And feel like they have to jump in and defend their honor when the person at the podium didn't say anything about it. In fact, took it in good cheer. And if they were offended, I think it would be between that person and the person that they deemed offensive. All right, you guys, let's jump into see what The View had to say. It looks like they had a lot to say today, so I'm going to suffer through the whole episode for you. I'm going to take one for the team, you guys. I do enjoy other content creators' takes on it. I like to watch these things in a group setting because it's a lot more fun that way. All right, guys, without further ado, let's jump in.
Physically able. In just 71 days, the President of the United States has inflicted so much harm on Americans' safety, financial stability, the core foundations of our democracy, and even our aspirations as a people from our highest offices, a sense of common decency.
Now, Elon Musk has been engaging in a different kind of political theater with $1 million giveaway to Wisconsin voters, which will either,
I just need to really drive home. You guys, I really want to drive home. Did you notice when she started trying to verbally attack Elon Musk? And it must not have been a truth coming out of her mouth, because did you hear her get off? Anyway, I'm going to play it back a little bit for you guys. I don't enjoy seeing anyone choke up like that, but I feel like things happen for a reason. I don't discount anything, right? So let's continue on. And they bash Elon, they bash Trump at any given moment. And the man said the first things out of his mouth was, I rise to disrupt. I rise to disrupt. What does that speak to you? All right, let's keep going.
I want to point out that, political theater with $1 million giveaway to Wisconsin voters, which will either, I You know, I just want to point out that, you know, here in New York, we used to have something called a political machine called Tammany Hall. And one of the things that they stopped was them being able to pay people to vote the way they wanted them to pay. They used to call it quid pro quo.
Yeah. Right.
And they stopped all of that. They said they didn't want that because it didn't represent what people wanted. It represented what
the buyer wanted.
Yeah.
See, they can't even articulate what they're saying because it's nonsense. It's foolery. It doesn't even make any sense. So and I can't believe they didn't community note them, make them read a legal notice. I hope they did because he wasn't paying for votes. And we'll explain that later.
The buyer, because you should not be able to buy it. But I mean, are any of these effective? I mean, we know it's effective.
I mean, and let's talk about Harry Sisson. I mean, he's not even from the United States. You guys join us Wednesday, April 9th, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have a live panel show, and we're going to be talking about that. We're going to be talking about Jasmine Crockett and her new opponent, Mr. Sheldon Daniels, in the 30th District of Texas. That's my home state, so we're rooting for Mr. Daniels. So let's continue on. I'm sorry I keep stopping it. It's just, I just can't believe the statements that come out of their mouth and that they're not getting... There's no truth to what she's saying. They're not buying votes. They're encouraging people. And he plainly stated it was like an interview process and they get $1 million sign-on bonus is basically what it's like. And he's trolling the heck out of them. I can't.
Effective because people need money. So I guess if someone's holding out and saying, you have the chance to win $1 million.
I think that's going to be effective for some people. But I love what Cory Booker is doing. I love what Senator Cory Booker is doing.
Of course you do, dear.
You've seen these sort of marathon filibusters. That's not exactly what he's doing because there's nothing on the floor right now coming to vote. If there's something on the floor coming to vote, sometimes a senator will get on the floor and just take up tons of time during a marathon to stall the vote, right? That's a filibuster. He's not.
See, they don't even know what they're talking about. We'll get into that in a little bit. Let's keep going.
Doing that. But we're in a constitutional crisis, people. We are. I don't care what anyone says. We are. We're there right now. And we need that kind of energy coming from the Democrats. People feel that no one is fighting for them. And when I look at Cory Booker, I feel like Cory Booker is fighting for them. It makes a lot of sense.
The Human Services Secretary, Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
So this is the part we're waiting for. This is the whole reason I decided to do the segment. So I'm glad they're doing it early on, and let's get into it.
This is a very active audience.
Y'all ain't playing, are you? Well, he took the stage at a Make America Healthy Again over the weekend, where he put the focus on West Virginia Governor Patrick Morrisey. Take a look.
I got to know Governor Morrisey early in the transition. First time I saw him, I said, "You look like you ate Governor Morrisey." and there was a lot of talk about getting healthy again. And I'm very happy that he's invited me to be his personal trainer. We're going to put him on a carnivore diet. We're going to make him raise your hand if you want Governor Morrisey to do a public weigh-in once a month.
So we raise 2 hands.
And then when he's lost 30 pounds, I'm going to come back to the state and do a celebration and a public weigh-in with him.
And, you know, before they dig in, I just want to give a couple of comments. So I'll say it again. I said it in my other content, you guys, that, you know, he doesn't need RFK Jr. to be his personal trainer. But the fact that even if he was saying it sarcastically or being facetious or whatever, you know, they had a good back and forth, a good banter, and they both took it in stride and the crowd seemed to receive it well. So what's the problem? And the fact that RFK Jr. in his busy schedule would make time to come back to West Virginia to celebrate our milestones and successes, I don't see how that's a bad thing. And really and truly in the military and law enforcement, any of that, they should all be physically fit, all take personal training tests, PT tests regularly. When my father was in the Navy, they had to do weigh-ins. So I don't know what that speaks to you, but let's get back into this. What kills me the most about this, what Alyssa is saying, is, she spent time in West Virginia, but, she spent time in the bougie ass places. Where did she really go in West Virginia to be able to say she knows so much about West Virginia? And you notice that they're reading those stats off of a card.
Why are you talking about the governor's weight? Because, in order to do all those things you're asking for, you'd actually have to do your homework.
Yes, you have to do your job.
You'd have to do your job. Go ahead.
Well, I think it's probably easier to focus on the governor than it is the rise in measles, whooping cough, tuberculosis, which are all these things that are happening simultaneously. But it's also...
And I'll say it again, this is what they want. They're going to talk about internet, how West Virginians need internet, and our problem is that we live in rural areas. They want us clumped up on each other. We're perfectly happy on our 3.7 acres of land here in the mountains. We live deep in the hollers of Boone County, West Virginia, and the few times that there's been storms, we're very rarely without power very long. It's only happened a couple of times, and the internet, I think it's went out maybe once or twice, and that's when they were upgrading or doing some stuff. So I don't know what they're talking about.
There's just a human reaction, a visceral reaction to like a bully, even though he wasn't like mad. Someone who's large, someone who's large doesn't need you to point that out. Like, they are very aware and they feel that all the time. So to say that when he's on a stage, that is what nightmares are made of.
Yeah.
And then following it up with the cute little button, let's weigh him in, I would have died. Like, it is really just awful behavior.
If I could mention one more thing too, I spent a lot of time in West Virginia, one of those beautiful states, but it has...
She spent no time in West Virginia. I want to know what her idea of a lot of time is. So listen to what she says. This is interesting.
One of the reasons its health outcomes are so far behind is there's very rural parts. So there's just not access to care.
Yeah.
That is one of the top things that HHS should be dealing with, is how to have more access to care.
And you hear them coughing all the while. They're living in clumped up cities and they're mansions.
Because that is why you end up with higher mortality rates.
To be out there exactly talking about that right now.
Well,
Maybe
they should be talking about a lot of stuff. I mean, the fact that you can't get any kind of what do you call it?
Insulin, diabetes?
No, you can't get
Insurance? Oh my God,
Healthcare.
2 words.
She can't see what I mean.
One of the hardest things to get people to recognize is part of the fact of being in a rural area puts you at such a disadvantage. And one of the things they need to start doing is making sure that you can get the internet in all of these different places. Because if you can't access anything, you can't do any of the telling stuff.
So Whoopi lived in an era where internet was not accessible. The internet was not accessible until 1993, right? So what did we do before then? She acts like we weren't able to do a thing. She acts like we weren't able to work. We weren't able to survive. Yes, the world has evolved. Internet, you kind of have to have it, but you don't have to have it. You don't. We've lived without it before when everyone said you had to have it.
And they're cutting telehealth. And they're cutting
from
telehealth.
seniors.
So, Mr. Kennedy Jr., if you really want to really do something, people really could use your help. They could use your help getting them the access they need to keep their families well. Please work on that. And let the governor take care of his business. Let the governor and his family work out whatever they need to work out. But you don't need to be the person pointing it out. You need to be the person helping the state. We'll be right back.
Well, Whoopi, tell us how you really feel. Oh my gosh. All right, you guys, that's about all I've got from the crackling crows of The View. Do you think their view is a little skewed? I sometimes wonder, what do you think about what RFK Jr. said at the podium? I mean, maybe it wasn't the right time or place to say something like that. I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comment section. You guys, my name is Regina Connell. This is West Virginia Wire. See you on the flip-flop. Over now.
Got the world on my mind. Ain't no time to play. Chasing dreams, running fast, feeling no delay. We're the watchdogs, always watching what they say. Eyes wide open, we're taking what's ours. Breaking through the silence, aiming for the stars. The grind don't stop, we're living in the scars. On Watchdog Wednesday, we're raising the bars.